Hey guys, today I am back and as you can see I'm in a different setting than normal. I'm actually at my mom's house, which means I am with my full makeup collection as you can see behind me. So since I am with my full collection, I thought that I would do a really fun video that I've seen floating around YouTube, which is the favorite shade in every palette video. I don't know who originally started this, but I will link the first video that I saw of this concept, which was Sophie Alexandra, and I'm pretty sure that Rebecca Morgan also did this video. So I will make sure to link both of their videos down below. I just thought this was super fun and wanted to show you my favorite shade in every single one of my palettes. So if you're interested in this video or you're interested in learning more about my collection, just keep watching. I have all of my eyeshadows in a bucket in front of me. I am kind of overwhelmed and don't know where to start. Let's start Buxom because I actually rearranged these shadows. If you don't know, Buxom eyeshadow, in case you weren't aware, Buxom eyeshadow palettes come out like this and they slide out and then you can pop the shades out. So I had these two palettes, the Suede Seduction and Dolly Danger, and I kind of rearranged the shadows with a couple other random loose Buxom shadows I had been gifted and to make my perfect palettes. So from the original lineup that these shades have, because it's on the back, I wanted to show you my favorite shade in each palette. In the Buxom Dolly's Wild Side palette, that would definitely be this shade that's called Mink Magnet. I'm very sorry for the lipstick stain on my hand. So that's that. It is like a cool tone, taupey bronze, and it is so flattering, especially for my eye color. I just really, really love that shade. And then from the Suede Seduction palette, I think my favorite shade was this one right here, which was this like orangey matte, which you can see right there. These shadows are definitely very sheer, but I think that makes them very nice if you want just kind of an easy everyday palette, because you just dig your brush in and then kind of swirl it around and they blend out beautifully. Next I want to do Tarte. So I have two Tarte holiday collections. I have 2017 and 2018. So 2017, in case you don't remember, it looks like this. I honestly thought this was really beautiful packaging. It's very bulky. It's kind of cumbersome. It's so pretty. I think it, and also the square shape was a good idea because it sits very nicely like right there on my vanity. And out of this kind of more jewel toned color theme, my favorite shade is the shade Brooch, which is right here. The formula was a little bit hit or miss with this palette, and that's part of the reason why this shade is my favorite, because the formula of this shade is the kind of classic Tarte formula that I like the most, and it is this beautiful goldy green. It's just like a pale, oh my god, what is the word I'm looking for? Pale green with this beautiful gold shift. It is so pretty. And then in 2018, they had like a pineapple theme. I don't really know what Tarte was doing with that one. My favorite shade out of this palette is basically Where Your Eye Goes When You Open It. This beautiful like teal down at the bottom. It's just a really pretty shade. I have nothing else like this in my collection, and every time I open that palette, this is the shade I want to use. Then I have three other Tarte palettes. I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes. Doing this kind of made me come to reality with my life choices. This is the Tartelette Original palette. It's just an all matte, standard, basic palette. It's actually really pretty. But I would have to say, if I was going to pick a favorite shade from this one, it would actually be this deep purple, because this is probably the best deep purple that's this kind of depth and richness that I own. It's a little bit more on like the powdery side, but that causes it to get such a beautiful like effect when you're blending it into other shadows. But as you can see, it's just a really deep plum shade. Then next is one of my all-time favorite palettes, and it is the Tartelette in Bloom palette. As you can see, I have 4 pans. So I have a third of this palette with pan on it. And This is gonna sound super boring, but I think my favorite shadow in this palette is the shade Funny Girl, which is this beautiful bright champagne, and it just makes your eyes look so pretty. Oh, there you go. It's right there. It is so stunning. It just kind of gives your eyes like a beautiful glow. And then my last Tarte palette is this little baby Tartist Pro To Go, which looks like this. Again, I have pan in that shade. I use this for travel all the time. And I think my favorite shade is actually this shade Boss over here. It is a beautiful bronze. There's going to be a lot of like bronzes and shimmery shades in this. I just already know it. But it's such a flattering tone, and it blends so nicely over the lid. You could just take this shadow, just kind of smudge it everywhere, and you are good to go. It is stunning. So now that we're done with Tarte and Buxom, I washed my hands so we can still get good swatches, and I think it is time to move on to MAC, which is going to be a long one. Very sorry about, well, not that sorry. So first is the MAC Classic Cutie palette, which looks like this. Not going to lie, I don't have a ton of use on this palette. It's one of those that's fun to dip into for like 1 or 2 shades every once in a while. But if I did have to pick a favorite shade, it would definitely be this beautiful cool toned bronze. We're starting to see a theme, aren't we? Which I think is funny because there's so many pretty purples in here. But that's just where my eye goes. That's what I want to play with every time I open it, and it has a beautiful, very sparkly finish to it. Then next, quickly, I have both of the MAC Patrick Star. This is their original collection, like the first of the series that he did. I know he came back and did another winter collection with them, I think. I'm not sure. I have the 2 original ones from the first time he collaborated with them. So from the Glam AF quad, I think it's pretty clear that my favorite shade is going to be this beautiful rose gold shade. It does something for your eyes, man. It is so beautiful. It's like a taupey rose gold, if that makes any sort of sense. From the Goal Getter quad, my favorite shade is actually probably this like beautiful mid-tone brown. It is just like perfect. I can't describe it. It blends so well. It works really well with all the other shades in the palette. Then I have my MAC Plum Luxe Volux Pearl Fusion Shadow. It's like their shimmer bricks. And I think my favorite shade is going to be this kind of deeper purple down at the bottom. It is perfect for doing some sort of smoky, colorful liner. It has a beautiful like pink glitter in it, which all of these shades are very glittery. You're not going to get around that. But it just looks very pretty. I think it works really well, like smudged on the lower lash line or as a liner, and I do really like that shade. And then we get into my regular mini 9-pan palettes. So we have the Dusty Rose x9 palette, which looks like this. I know you're probably going to say, Jasmine, there's a big pan in that. I did not hit that pan. This belonged to my mom, and then she gave it to me. So for me, my favorite shadow is going to be this one right next to it. It is the shade, it's going to be the shade Sable. It is a beautiful, more warm tone bronze. Can we tell Jasmine likes bronzes? It's just really pretty shade. Very flattering. And then next I have MAC Solar Glow x9, and my favorite shadow is going to be this more orangey pearlized shade. This is kind of an interesting formula. It's definitely, it's like a pressed glitter before pressed glitters existed, so it's got like just a lot of sparkle to it. It has a pretty effect on it. There we go. It's right there. It's just very shiny, pretty, and it has like a light peachy glow to it. Then I have the MAC Amber x9 palette, and this again, very basic, but I love this beautiful shade at the top. It is Kitties. It is just somehow so flattering. Even if I'm not wearing any other eyeshadow, I love to just put this on the lids and just let it kind of, the light foiled glow. It is so beautiful. Last but not least, I have the Semi-Sweet ×9, and I think my favorite shade out of this palette is going to be this chocolate brown in the middle. It is such a beautiful pigmented chocolatey brown. It is probably the least interesting shade in the palette, but look how beautifully that just kind of blended out. I do really love that shade. Then let's do Lorac super quick. I have this Malibu Free Spirit. It was part of the Your LA Experience collection. They came out with like 4 or 5 of these little palettes that had eyeshadows and cheek products in them. And my favorite shade in this palette is the shade Cliffside. It is such a beautiful gold. It is so reflective. See, you can see that better than the other ones. I've always thought Lorac shadows were great. This one just really knocks it out of the park. And then for the Lorac Pro Original palette, I think my favorite shade is going to be Taupe. As boring and brown as it is such a good crease shade. That was not a good swatch. It is such a good crease shade. I mean, it just blends out into nothing. It goes with everything. It's like a cool toned brown that just kind of is the perfect base for like any look. And then let's just quickly go through some random one-offs. I have the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette, and my favorite shade in this palette definitely is going to be Ambitious, which is like this bright, try to swatch with the wrong hand, not the wrong hand, but my wrong hand, this bright red, like berry toned copper, if that makes any sort of sense. It is so stunning. I'm not going to lie, I don't love this palette. I keep it for these 2 shades, Ambitious and then the one next to it, which is Turn On, which is also stunning. I have this iArt Artists palette from Laura Mercier, and it's just these beautiful like plummy tones. And my favorite shade is definitely African Violet, which is this one right here. Sorry, doing everything with the opposite hand is turning out to be more difficult than I thought it would be. It is so pretty. It reminds me a lot of a shade that is in the 2017 Tarte Holiday palette, but this one is so much more flattering on the eye. It's just like a beautiful goldeny purple haze. Then let's do Smashbox. I have 2 of their little mini cover shop palettes. I have Matte and I have Soft Light. For Soft Light, to be honest, all of these shades are pretty similar once you put them on the eye, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be this one right here. It is the most interesting in my opinion. It's a little bit more matte and less shimmery than the other ones, but it has like a peachy glow to it. This is definitely what you need to see. To be honest, I can barely see it, but it is just a beautiful like peachy, pinky, goldeny glow. And then the CoverShot Matte palette, I think my favorite shade is going to be this brown. Now it's very basic of me, but this is a very basic palette, and this eyeshadow just blends so well. It is almost my skin tone exactly, like a tan skin tone, but it is right there. As you can see, it just gives a little bit of depth, blends beautifully, and then other things blend on top of it beautifully. Then my one palette from Natasha Denona. To be honest, this is actually very difficult because the reason I bought this is because I really like all the shades. But I think my favorite is this olivey gold color. It is so beautiful. It turns into, it's not a full-on like metallic. I don't really know what the rest of her formulas are like, but all the ones in this palette give like a sheer, beautiful sparkle to the eyes. And then I have this Lancome Color Design eyeshadow palette in the shade Taupe Craze. This is a mini eyeshadow palette. Like this came in some sort of free gift with purchase. But I do really, really love this sparkly shade. They call it Lid. So it is beautiful. One second, it's hard to dig my finger into there. It's so small. But there it is right there. Just a beautiful taupe metallic glittery shimmer. Next I have this Cargo Cosmetics Wanderlust palette, and to be completely honest, this palette is kind of on its way out. I am not in love with it, but I do think that the shade Rome is really beautiful. It is like this beautiful emeraldy green shade, I think is the best way to describe it. It has a little bit of shimmer to it, and if you're okay with that, it is really pretty. One second, let me get a good swatch. So that's it right there. It is a very pretty shade, and I do really want to play with it a little bit more before I actually bite the bullet and let this out of my life. Then next we have this Flower Beauty Shimmer and Shade eyeshadow palette in the shade Cool Natural. I think this shade right here, they just number them, so it's shade number 7, and it again is a very like taupey shimmery shade, but it is so pretty. Next I have the NARS Ignited palette, and I think my favorite shade, this is a very fun palette, I think my favorite shade is going to be this one right here. It is very sparkly, and it has like this shift to it. I don't even know how to describe it. It almost goes like a dirty, grungy, greeny gold to a bright, beautiful pink. It is so stunning. And then it has this like flash, like a really bright gold in it. And you cannot see any of the colors I'm describing for the lighting situation out there. That like beautiful like glitteriness. I'm just getting eyeshadow everywhere. I am almost done. Okay, so next we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam Eyeshadow Palette. And I have not gotten to play with this a ton, but so far my favorite shade is definitely the shade Sultry, which is a beautiful rosy bronze metallic. Shocking, another bronze, but this is pretty. This is kind of similar to that, I think it was called Ambitious shade from the Naked Cherry palette, but this is more coppery, like more orange, and this pulls a little bit more like pink / brown. And then next I have my Huda Beauty Rose Gold Remastered palette. This makes me happy every time I open it, and although it is going to be very hard to pick just one shade, I think my favorite shade in this palette is going to be Rose Gold. This isn't necessarily my most used shade, and I wouldn't even call this really a rose gold, but it is this beautiful like pink with a gold flash. It's like a pink gold, if that makes any sort of sense. It is so stunning. It is beautiful. Like if I ever want to zazz up an eyeshadow look, I just tap a little bit of over whatever I'm doing, and it just kind of adds extra dimension and sparkle. It's so pretty. You just need the littlest bit of it. I love that shade. And then my last eyeshadow palette, believe it or not, is the Huda Beauty New Nude palette. This is also a very beautiful palette, but I think my favorite shade is the shade Tickle, which is a matte right here. This, when working out of this palette, this is the perfect shade. I love doing, I have this like kind of smokier all matte eyeshadow look where I take Tickle and I put it all over my lid and blend it into my crease, and then I build depth with these two over here, and it is stunning. I cannot believe how beautiful it is. It's such a pretty pink. Honestly, if I could have a blush this color, I would love that even more. I adore this palette. I brought it with me to school for a quarter last year, and I got so many compliments every time I wore it. It really just made me very happy. So there it is, guys. I know I did have to wash my hand once because it was just, I knew that this was going to happen. I was going to get eyeshadow everywhere. But this is everything. As you can see, I have some trends, lots of bronzes, lots of beautiful gold colors, whether they're champagne-y golds or like pinky orangey gold. I have a theme, but I love each and every one of these shadows, and I have so much fun playing. If you liked this video, you liked this concept, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff below. And added bonus, if you would like to see a palette bingo, a get ready with me, a dedicated any sort of video to any one of these palettes, please leave that in the comment section below. I would love to play with these on camera depending on what you want to see. So make sure to comment and just tell me if you enjoyed it. I hope to see you all in a future video. Thanks, guys.